And Ashok is a junior of mine in high school as well. So great to have you here.
By a year.
Only by a year. Yeah. There you go, Ashok.
You look a lot younger than me, which is not fair. So, well, good morning. Thank you, Amar. Good morning. First of all, let me congratulate Amar and the Indiaspora staff on such a extraordinary growth that I've been watching over the last decade. So, for all the great work that you'll do. Let me take you back in time a little bit. I was, of course, born and raised in India, Don Bosco, Loyola College, for Chennai, Madras. There you go. It was an unbelievable time. It was a great time. I always enjoyed going to the movies. My parents, many years later, would say, if you couldn't find this boy on the tennis court or in school, you'd find him in a movie theater. So, I saw Sound of Music 33 times. Ben-Hur, To Serve With Love, Enter the Dragon, Graduate, all these movies. I loved the movies. But tennis was the family business. So my brothers were already playing. So my mother pushed me into the sport, thank God. It's not great when a kid has to play 7 hours a day. So, and every day. And summers in Chennai are not a lot of fun for 7 or 8 hours a day. But it was great that she pushed me in. And she was very big on discipline and focus. And life is a marathon. And she felt that sports, especially an individual sport, was very much about building character in a person and about growing up to be a proper man. So she would tell me very often, she would quote from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, and she'd say, "Heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, for they, while their companions slept, were toiling upwards in the night." And remembered those words quite often. So anyway, started playing tennis and won the national juniors, then the Asian juniors, and represented India at Junior Wimbledon. Got to the finals, was the second Indian to do so after Krishnan. And in the same year, 1974, Billie Jean King was starting a thing called World Team Tennis here in North America. Billie Jean and Larry, her husband, was starting that. And Jerry Buss, out of Los Angeles, bought the LA tennis team, and he had seen me play, and he invited me to come out to LA. So in 1975, I land in LA. I think all of us have had those sort of life-changing moments. So I looked around. It was Beverly Hills, palm trees, beautiful girls, great beaches, and I said, my God, this is like the movies, So I drop off my bags, I run around to the studios, and I'm fascinated by everything, and I said, I definitely want to be a part of this magic. So now I had to make the transition, which was never going to be easy. So 1975, I'm playing at the fabulous Forum, and played there 75, 76, 78, all the summers, and the rest of the year, of course, at Wimbledon, US Open, and all of that. So in 78, along with teammates Elina Stase and Chrissy Evert, we end up winning the World Team Tennis Championships. Now, 70s was a very important decade in tennis because it was sort of had its meteoric rise. In 72, the ATP was formed. Tennis went professional. Tiger Woods hadn't come on the scene for golf before he stole some of that audience. And so everybody used to come to watch us play. Actors, directors, executives, and so on. So needless to say, I was trying to weave my way into the entertainment business, got to know a lot of them and so on. Still continued to play pro tennis till 1981 when I got into the entertainment business. Now, I was leaving a relatively successful tennis career for a career that I knew absolutely nothing about. Less than nothing, actually. So I go into this career thinking, how tough can this be? I know a bunch of people. I'll call them up. They'll give me a job and so on. So I start calling up people, get into the business, and they invite me to play tennis. So I look great on their courts on Saturday morning. So took me a few years to realize everybody wanted to play tennis with me, nobody wanted to make a movie with me. So I said, okay, what do I do now? And I was banging my head against a stone wall. I was surrounded by white people. I don't think I saw a brown person anywhere around. I saw one black guy, which was Sidney Poitier, who became a very dear friend, and we'd have a number of conversations about this. But it was a tough time, dark days. And I used to remember Gandhiji saying, strength does not come from physical capacity, it comes from indomitable will. Everything that I've done in the entertainment business, you need to will to happen. That is the only way it happens. Every movie, I've made 126 movies. Every single movie, you had to smash it through. So, anyway, it's 1984. I'm sitting in my little office, and I get this 8x10 photograph of this actor. And I see a little number at the bottom. I have very little to do. So I call up this kid. I ask him to come to the office. He comes to the office. He can't speak English very well. So he comes over, and I said, what do you do for a living? He said, I act. So I said, well, I produce, but what do you do for money? So he said, well, I drive limousines. So I said, all right, you're either a limousine or you're a waiter or something while you're trying to be an actor, right? So he said, we make movie together. I said, sure, why not? So we go to all the studios. They kick us out of everywhere. We come back. I'll fade out of this story and come back a few years later. So the next year, I meet a friend of mine, and we managed to put my first movie together. This $500,000 movie that I'm doing in Arizona, right? Now, every one of my movies has stories. We'll be here all day if I get into all the stories. But the first one, I'm in Arizona. We're making this movie right outside Phoenix. And I'm asleep, and at 1 o'clock in the morning, I get a call. My lead actor is on the phone. And he says, Ashok, you got to... Now, nobody pronounced my name right for, years and decades, right? It's been killed in so many ways, it's mostly embarrassing. But, so, anyway, I say, hey, where are you? So he says, I'm in jail. You got to come and bail me out. So I said, damn, okay. So I rush over to the jail, bail the guy out, and then we finish the movie. The second movie, I'm doing this movie in the Philippines, and the lead actor decides to have an affair with the head of the triad in Manila. So my production manager gets a call and says, I've got to meet this producer of yours. So I said, listen, I don't have the time to meet somebody. He says, no, you got to go meet this guy. He shut down our production. So I said, all right. So I go to breakfast with this guy. He's got 4 goons standing around him. I'm sitting in the production manager wondering what the hell is going on. So he says, you know what's happening? I said, no, I don't. So he said, your lead guy is having an affair with my girlfriend. I said, well, they are 2 consenting adults. I don't know what to tell you. So he says, no, you're responsible. I said, no, I'm not. I'm not responsible. So he says, no, you're responsible. I'm going to hold you responsible, and I'm going to close down your production until this affair stops. So I said, all right, how about I try my best? I'll talk to my guys. He said, no. You guarantee it, or you're never going to shoot in Manila again. So I said, okay, in a moment of weakness, I said, I guarantee it. So we're coming back in the car, and my production manager is looking at me like I'm absolutely nuts. He said, it's not just your life. He says, my life too. So anyway, I go back. I'm thinking about it. I pick up the phone, and I call his wife in L.A. And I say, I have 3 first-class tickets waiting for you at LAX. You and the 2 kids need to get on a plane and come to Manila immediately. She said, is it that urgent? I said, it's a matter of life and death. So she flies over to Manila. I pick her up, take her to the guy's room, and I said, surprise, So being a producer is being a parent, it's being a diplomat, it's forget about all the creative and financial stuff. That's That's easy compared to all this stuff. So anyway, I decide that I want to build bridges between India and Hollywood. So I wanted to do the first US-India co-production. And I went back to Chennai, and the gentleman living 10 minutes from me who had already become a star, he was not quite the icon he is today, whose name was Rajnikant. And so I call him up, and I say, can we have some lunch? Because there's a movie I'd like to talk to you about. He knew of my family. We had lunch. He came on board, and we make this movie called Bloodstone, which got a lot of kudos in India because it was the first real US-India co-production. And it came out in 1988. Was great fun. He was an amazing man. Some years later, when everybody thought he was going to be a politician, he came and stayed with me for 6 weeks and hid out while everybody was wondering where in the world he had gotten to. Really, really great guy. So it's 1990, and I'm at the Carlton Terrace in Cannes. I'd kind of figured out the foreign market by this time. So I'm sitting at the Carlton Terrace, and this kid comes running up to me. This kid from 1984, where we got thrown out of all these places. So comes running up to me, and he says, his English had gotten a bit better. He says, Ashok. I said, yeah. So he said, 1984. I said, oh, yeah. So he says, well, out of 800 photographs I sent out, you were the only guy to call me back. And his name was Jean-Claude Van Damme, and we developed a movie called Double Impact. And it comes out in 1991. We make the movie for $11 million. It does over 100. And suddenly, in 1992, people find my phone number and start calling me back. That's Hollywood. They don't have any time if you make unsuccessful movies, but if you make successful movies, everybody finds your number. So the other thing was, I knew I had to kind of smash my way through because there weren't really any role models at that point in the 80s. And so it was sort of really smashing your way through this very white, very dense thicket that is sort of Hollywood. And certainly it was one of those will yourself to do it moments. And that was one ambition, and the other was to build this bridge between India and Hollywood as much as I could. So I was invited to join the Academy in 1992, the Academy of Motion Pictures, as the first Indian to do so. And it was really great to be invited, I must say. It was 3%, non-white at that time. And having joined all of the boards, we've been at this point able to make it 50% non-white. So it's that's been very gratifying. 92, I found myself driving over to Charlton Heston's house because he was the guy who was going to give me the plaque. And I looked around a beautiful house. I said, great house, Chuck. He said, Ben-Hur built it for me. So I said, yeah, I can quite imagine. So my movies got a lot bigger in the 90s. Again, there are a lot of stories. One quick one, I was doing a movie where my lead actor was so far into cocaine that he couldn't remember any of his lines. So I take him to rehab. I put him in rehab. He's supposed to be in rehab for 2 weeks. 3 days later, I get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning. And my production manager's calling me up, and he says, you got to come to Malibu. So I said, no, man, come on, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. So he said, no, you got to come to Malibu right now. So I said, why? He said, so-and-so, this is a very famous actor. He's still on TV all the time. This guy's running down Pacific Coast Highway. So I said, what do you mean? He's in rehab. So he said, no, he's running down Pacific Coast Highway, and he's in the nude. So he said, so you got to come right now because you won't get in my car. So So, I take a robe and some clothes, and I go over to the PCH, put him in clothes, and take him back to here. I said, "Oh, Ashok, you're saving my life," he says. So I said, "Yeah, but please stay there." So it was one of those things. One of the movies I made, Get Carter, was with Stallone. So we were sitting on the, one last story, and then I'll get to the rest of it. We were sitting on the set, and we were trading stories. And finally, of course, we got around to Rocky. And I said, "Sly, how do you make this movie? First movie." So he said, and we were talking about where we were born and all that, and Sly was born at Hell's Kitchen in New York, and they had to pull him out with the forceps, which is why he talks with his mouth like that, and so on. So he's a very cool guy. Like many of these, like Jean-Claude, like The Rock, who I worked with, Sly is, oh my goodness, this is like the Oscars. They're going to cut me off. Okay. We'll move this along. So, that was very good. You're on a tight ship here. So anyway, very quick story about Sly. He said, "I was down to my last $350, paid the last month's rent. I'd written the script called Rocky. Two producers, Bob Chartoff, Irvin Winkler, both decent tennis players actually, called him up and said, 'We love this script, we'll pay you $1,000 for it.' He said, 'Okay, if I can star in it.' I said, 'Get out of here, star in it. What's wrong with you? You can't even talk properly.' So he's there, his last month's rent. So 10th of the month, they call him, offer him $10,000, and he said, 'I got a star in it.' They say no. Cut a long story short, 25th of the month, they said, 'We'll offer you $100,000, but you can't star in it.' And he says no. And he sells his dog to pay for the next month's rent. And by the middle of the following month, they come back to him and said, 'We'll pay you $1,000, but you can star in it, and we'll give you 5% of the profits.' And the rest is history. And again, it's one of those moments where you need all your willpower to kind of hang in there. And he goes back and buys the dog from the guy he sold it to for $350. The guy sold it back to him for $3,500. And he said, 'You got to give me a cameo in Rocky II,' which he did. After 2000, my movies got a lot bigger with all these guys that you've seen. It's been an extraordinary ride working with amazing actors, great directors, and terrific crew members. I've continued to try to build the gateway between India and LA. I went back in the mid-90s because I wanted to make an Indian film. I made a Tamil film. A young man called Shankar came and pitched me some stories. I liked a story called Jeans. He said, "There's this girl that I love that you got to get." So I said, "Who's this?" He said, "Her name's Aishwarya Rai. She just won Miss World." I said, "I've never heard of her." So he said, "No, she's 10 minutes down the street, and she's staying at this hotel." So I call up Mrs. Rai, and I said, "I want to meet your daughter." And she said, "Of course, come on over." So I go over. I talked the first time I ever negotiated with an actress one-on-one. So we stood in the corridor, we made a deal, and she said, "I'd love to do the movie." And 6 months later, we're making this movie. Rahman did the music, who's my junior from Don Bosco, did an amazing job. And one quick story, though I'm probably down to 2 minutes. He wrote a song about the 7 wonders of the world, with Aishwarya supposedly being the 8th wonder of the world in this movie. So Shankar, the director, comes to me and he says, "Sir, we got to go to the 7 wonders." So I said, "Inaya solra." I'm telling him in Tamil, where are you going to go to the 7 wonders of the world? We don't have the budget to go to 2 wonders. Where are you going to go to 7 wonders? He wants to go to Great Wall of China, to Pyramids of Egypt, to Leaning Tower of Pisa. So I said, "There's no." So he says, "Tell me what the budget is." So I told him what the budget is, and they shot this song in the 7 wonders of the world. They ran around everywhere, Aishwarya, and Rahman's music was blasting all over Great Wall of China and Leaning Tower of Pisa. People were wondering what in the world was going on. I see 2 minutes, yes. It was unbelievable. It was India's nomination to the Oscars in 1998. I'm very proud of the movie. we basically had an amazing box office, which ran for many, many, many weeks until my friend Rajini's next movie came, and then he took us off the top of the box office. I've also tried to build it in different ways. This gateway, in fact, the logo of my company, which is probably one of the two companies that has survived since the 90s, Hyde Park Entertainment, is part of it. Hyde Park comes from the days when I used to play at Wimbledon and walk in Hyde Park when the days were good, those 5 days in the year in London. And the other comes from the bridge, which is my logo, which is building a bridge between India and Hollywood. And so I hosted a show for, I do think the South Asian talent even today, while there are a lot more brown faces on television, obviously today, but I think South Asian talent is still underrated, and I don't think that a spotlight has been shined enough on them. So I did a show that I hosted called Gateway to Hollywood around 2015, I think it was, with Sony. We discovered a young talented kid called Bijoy Nambiar, who went on to direct a bunch of movies in Bollywood. I then did a show called Chance of a Lifetime, where we, with National Geographic and Participant, my friend Jeff Skoll, who had a great company, and it was really successful. 3 kids who are documentary filmmakers. They all got great jobs and stuff. So it's been really a great ride. You know, in the 6th grade, when my son was doing his graduation speech, he quoted Socrates, who said, "An unexamined life is not worth living." We often, I think, each of us look back at our lives. It's you know, it's been a great run from the time I grew up, and those guys, the kid who came into my office and wanted to make a movie to now. And I do think the time has come. The previous session, I was so intrigued listening to all of this stuff about Indians and all of that. I do think, you know, we are part of society today, but I think there is a way to spotlight, at least in my business, more and more Asian talent, South Asian talent, and there is so much of it, and I think one should continue to do that. I hear a lot about AI these days. I can't walk out, maybe I have the last 30 seconds, I can't walk out without talking a bit about that. I've been through quite a lot of technological changes. In the 80s, it was the video, you know, VHS and Betamax, and Beta lost that battle, Sony lost that battle to JVC and Panasonic because those guys had the right to get content and Sony didn't, and then they went on and bought Columbia Pictures as a result. In the 90s, it was DVD and Blu-ray. Then the foreign market grew from 25% to 75%, which it is today. And then, of course, the streamers came in, and the studios didn't quite handle it right. And I think the studios and streamers still run on parallel tracks. I'm hopeful that that does not happen with the AI, and it is more of a symbiotic relationship, hopefully, because everybody's very scared in Hollywood right now that what the streamers did was take away rather than add on, and the Netflixes and all of them of the world, all of who are dear friends, and now we evolve because we partner with everybody. So we evolve as new technologies come along, and I'm hopeful that I can learn more from all of you about AI. I'm hopeful that we can have AI and Hollywood have a much closer relationship and not a combative relationship, as is currently the position being taken in Hollywood, because they hear about an AI actress and all of that. So I do think there are very exciting times ahead, and I look forward to a lot of interesting discussions. Thank you.
One question. What are you working on now?
Okay. Well, we have about 25 projects between film and TV. We're doing Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises, which will shoot in Spain. We are doing a movie about Audrey Hepburn and Givenchy in partnership with LVMH, which we are doing, and the Givenchy Foundation. We're doing the Arthur Ashe story, which is at Skydance and Paramount. We are doing a movie at Universal called Double Indemnity, which is a remake. We are very focused on IP. Intellectual property has become very important. I think there is so much of content out there that you've got to differentiate yourself from the group. So IP and very branded IP has become very important to us. So we buy a lot of that, we develop, and then studios come to us. And so that's what we do.
Thanks. MR, please come up for a picture.